Hi guys, welcome back to Monday Chit Chats. It feels like it's been so long, but really it's just been 2 weeks. I had to skip last week because there were so many deadlines that I had to meet, and I was also feeling really unwell. I'm definitely way better now, but yes, I'm sorry, I just had to skip last week. So much has changed. It feels like I'm living a whole new life, even though it's only been 2 weeks. I was thinking about it, I'm like, this is a whole new season of Arielle. So much has changed. The first thing you can probably see is the background. We are back into our apartment transformation. I think we left off at part 3, and the problem is, it was just like, as soon as it was winter and the sun started to set so early, we just lost every single ounce of motivation to decorate our apartment, and I was kind of worried that we would never get back into it. But I think a week ago we had solid sun for like 3 or 4 days, and we went into full spring cleaning. Like, we emptied our wardrobes, we donated a bunch of stuff that we weren't using or we weren't wearing, we switched our wardrobes from winter to spring/summer, we organized the balcony, we started to get our seeds, oh, I don't know the word in English, but like our seeds planted, our tomato plants and everything. So yeah, it just gave us this motivation to clean and organize and make things pretty for spring. And so anyways, we are really trying to figure out the back end of the apartment at the moment. I shouldn't say the apartment, like the back end of the living room. And I know upon first glance, having a desk is ugly. We don't really have another option at this point. Like, I want to get a walking pad. I want to work somewhere that's not the bedroom. So this is like, you know, the only other option. But it will get nicer, hopefully. And always, if you guys have any comments about decorating or tips or anything like that, I love to hear them down below. Specifically at this point in time, you can see the white area above the shelf and above the desk. We're a little bit struggling with what to do. I either want to put shelving and have a bunch of plants hang down and maybe little boxes for organization, or I also was thinking of having an LED light, like a pink LED light that would sort of like wave through the back. But yeah, open to all suggestions. We're also working on like our gallery wall and our bedroom and everything. It's so exciting to be transforming the apartment. And also, after winter, with all the winter clothes and all of the buildup of things we weren't using, it just felt so disorganized and cluttered in the apartment. So it just feels, it's like what they say, organized space, organized mind. So that feels really good. Another thing too that is changing for me is I'm really trying to focus more on my health. I have a video detailing this, or hopefully I'll have a video detailing my health journey and transformation. But as you guys know, like, I obviously don't need to talk a lot about it, but last year was hard for me in terms of health. I had 2 operations, 1 broken finger, insane lung problems, and all of that led me to gain a significant amount of weight. And it's not a numbers thing for me. Like, it's not being at a certain level of weight, it's feeling the consequences of poor health. So when I had my surgeries, for example, I didn't get exercise in for 3 months, and I started to feel like walking was strenuous on my lungs and my heart. Right? Like, that to me is sort of like a sign that I need to be better. I think as well, one thing that I'm doing on this health journey, I feel like maybe I'm not explaining it properly, but I'm basically tracking what I'm eating, I'm tracking my weight, I'm tracking my exercise, and I'm trying to paint a picture of my lifestyle in terms of health and how I'm improving that. So another thing I'm doing as well is counting calories, you could say, but it's more like logging my food to see what I'm eating. And again, it's not like I want to be on a diet where I'm restricting myself of all the joys in life and in food, because I love food. But for me personally, I'm very much a volume eater. For some reason, I like the feeling of being very full. Like, if you put a pound of pasta in front of me, I'll eat the whole thing in 2 seconds, and I'll ignore the fact that I'm not hungry anymore, and I'll just eat because I enjoy eating. So it's small things like that that I want to start changing. And I find as well, now that I'm logging my food, and specifically when it comes to sweets and treats and stuff, that's another thing that before I never really paid too much attention to, because I've always done a lot of sports, I've done a lot of cardio, so I've never really seen the impact on my body of eating poorly. But like since I had to reduce my cardio and stuff, I did see that impact. And so when I log things like pastries or desserts or whatever in the portions that I would have eaten before, you can see that it's just really not healthy to consume that much sugar and fat. And yeah, so that also is a change for me. It's I mean, I say it's a change, but it's only been like probably 5 or 6 days, but I feel good. I feel there's a part of me that feels just so good when, like last night for example, I was talking with my best friend, and I just like to snack on things when I'm talking or watching a movie. I don't know why, I just love to snack. And instead of reaching for a sweet treat, or we had like a little cake in the fridge, I opted instead for celery, carrots, and cucumbers with like a tuna cheese dip. And to me, making that choice instead of going for the junk food like I would have previously is a result of me tracking my calories and tracking what I'm consuming. So I see the difference in my life. I really like it so far. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I'm excited to share that with you guys. And another thing too that's been really wild in my life has been, as you guys know, I'm working on my itineraries, but to make these itineraries, like the amount of activities I'm doing, the amount of tours I'm going on is really crazy. Like on Saturday, for example, I dragged Jean along with me because it's not really fun to test a restaurant by yourself. It's nice to test it with someone else. So I dragged him with me. We did a breakfast place in the morning. We did a museum and a guided tour after the breakfast place. We did a vegan bakery for my itineraries, and then we did another tour of a museum in the afternoon. And so it's just like tours, museums, and food all day. And it was obviously a lot of time and stuff, but it's just, I love it. I love that I'm learning so much, I'm experiencing so much, and it's exciting in that like I like to do these things, but it's also exciting because when I come across something really fun, like a little kind of hidden gem, I'm so excited to be able to log that and put it in an itinerary to share it with everyone else, you know what I mean? I like as well that because I'm doing all of these guided tours of literally every museum in Paris, it's all coming together like a puzzle piece, which is also helping for the itinerary so I can tell the story of Paris and of these places. But it's like when I was at the Musée d'Orsay, for example, they were talking about this statue that was supposed to be at the Palais Garnier, and the statue tied into a story that we'd heard at the Palais Garnier. And so yeah, I really like that everything is coming together, and I feel like I'm an expert of Paris. But yeah, so that's sort of what's going on for me at the moment. It feels like with the change of season, I'm also changing myself. It was nice. But let me know down below if you guys feel the same, if when spring rolls around, just because it is the transition from dark, cold winter to beautiful, colorful, sunny spring, I feel like for a lot of people, it's an exciting change, and it gives you motivation to make improvements in your life. So let me know if you guys are similar. A few things I had on my list to talk about. I hate to go from a positive vibe to kind of like a negative vibe, but oh my gosh, you guys, last week I got in, I don't want to say a fight, I would say like a tiff with a Parisian man in a grocery store. And the reason why I want to tell the story is just because it's so representative of how life can be in Paris, how the people in Paris can be at times. Like, it's Paris because it's Paris, but these things happen because the city is crowded, because people are stressed, because things can be overwhelming. And so that's why there's often little conflicts between people that can absolutely ruin your day. This was during the spring and summer when I'm doing a lot more biking, as is everyone in Paris. You just see this on the roads as well. It's like people cutting you off, people yelling at you right, left, and center, nobody respecting stop signs, like everyone yelling at people on bicycles. Like, it's just so unpleasant to to get around on a bike. And it is like, it's the result of things being so crowded and rushed and everything. So anyways, what happened at this grocery store is I just went down to grab some cream cheese, okay? Good mood, everything's great, it's sunny outside, I'm loving my life. And I pick up my cream cheese and I want to get in line, right? There's one cashier and there's kind of a lineup. And so there's the cashier, there's a person here, and there's a man here and a woman behind the man, and like the aisle is way down. So in order to get behind everyone, you literally walk up the aisle and get behind everyone. Like, that's how it works. And not just that, but as well, like, people who are shopping in that aisle, like the people in line, obviously like move to make space, you know, it's just the normal thing to do. So anyways, I have my cream cheese and this old man is at the very front of the aisle. So there's like aisles on both sides, and he's standing in the middle of the aisle, and he's got 12 big water bottles on either side of him. So he is completely blocking the aisle, like completely. And to me, it's just obvious, like, it's just a normal body movement that people do. Like, as I pass on this side, he will slightly move to this side so that I can pass and go behind him smoothly. Like, it feels weird to explain it because it's just like the natural movement of what happens. And so as I'm going to make this movement, I smile and I say, oh, pardon, which means, oh, excuse me, just, you know, a casual, polite pardon. And he refuses to move. He refuses to move. So I'm like off balance, like struggling to get around him. And I look at him and I'm so confused. I'm like I give him a look like, are you not gonna let me pass? Like, I was like, if you don't let me pass, I'm gonna get in line in front of you. Like, and so I said, I was like, I'm just trying to get behind you. Like, are you gonna let me pass or am I gonna? And he still refuses to move, and he says, you didn't even say excuse me. And I was like, not only did I say excuse me, I said it with a huge smile on my face. And I wanted to turn to him and be like, look, sir, it's not my fault you're deaf. Like, you know, I absolutely said excuse me and smiled at you. And so I just like move on past him and like brush up past him, stumble over all of his water bottles on the ground. I was just like it was just so weird to me because it's like, if you don't move, I'm going to go in front of you. Like, hello, what is this? And it was just so inconsiderate, you know, like it was just mean for no reason. And he's like mumbling to himself, like talking shit about me. And so I say, look, sir, I was just trying to get behind you. And I couldn't remember the word for aisle in French. And so as I was saying that, I sort of stumbled on my words because like I just couldn't remember the word. And then this man starts making fun of me that I can't speak in French. He goes, oh, what was the word? He said something so, like, it was just so rude. It was something like, like just mocking me speaking. And I was literally shocked. I'm like, who does this? Like, I did nothing wrong in this situation. Why are you mocking me and like talking shit to me? Like, it was so mean. And I just left the store and I was just so annoyed. I'm like, there was no need to ruin my day, you know? And it like, those kind of interactions shouldn't ruin your day, but they feel bad. It feels bad to have someone make fun of you, and it feels bad to have someone create conflict out of absolutely nothing, you know? So yeah, like, it obviously, telling the story back, it feels so minor, as do all conflicts, but in the moment it felt crappy. And it was just like, to me, it was so representative of how life can be in Paris sometimes. Like, people just are kind of always on the cusp of a breakdown. They're always on the edge of an argument, and it hadn't happened in a while, but yeah, it was so annoying to me. Okay, the next topic that I have written down is more philosophical, I want to say, less of a story time, but basically one of the museums that we did this weekend was the Musée Carnavalet, and we did a guided tour of the revolutions post French Revolution. So revolutions from the 1800s to the 1900s. And it was very interesting. Like, it was a really good guided tour. But what I thought that was interesting, that is my topic, is when she was talking about the Napoleonic regime, I want to say, after the French Revolution, there was this complete surveillance of the people and the government sort of flagging groups of people that needed to be surveyed. So for example, one of the biggest groups of people that were supposed to be surveyed were the students, because it was like, oh, they're going to school, they're getting new ideas, they could, you know, maybe they'll create a new revolution and they'll want to overthrow this new government. And I just thought that it was like, it's so funny that even over 200 years ago, you still have this same idea of constantly being surveyed by government, by authority, and sort of the fear that the people will revolt. I think especially in today's times, it's so relevant. And one of the things too that Napoleon did to sort of the idea was to distract people and to ensure that people are enjoying life so that they won't think about having a new revolution or revolting. And so examples of this would be like, he installed water fountains, like drinkable water fountains in Paris, because it was hard for people to come across drinkable water. That's why there were so many alcoholic beverages, because the water wasn't treated, it wasn't like in drinkable condition. And so one of the things he did was install the water fountains. Can't think of other examples, but yeah, it really rang true, I think, to today's situation, when you see a lot of people posting, or at least I see a lot of people posting on social media, and I feel it myself, like a lot of the financial struggles that people are going through today, it's very similar. You really draw the parallel between before and today. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. And another thing as well that the guide was talking about, I know I talk a lot about this, but was the status of women at the time in the early 1800s. And it was just like, women were absolutely disregarded. Nobody cared about women. Like, they were just nothing. They meant nothing to everybody. Obviously, they weren't allowed to go to schools. Obviously, they didn't work. Like, they were just nothing. And one of the things that the guide explained is that at the time, women weren't even allowed to ask for a paternity test, because cases of sexual assault happened so frequently that if these women started demanding paternity tests and everything, it would mess up the heritage for the men. And it just like, it was very sad to hear that. It was really sad to hear it. Like, she went a little bit more into detail, but yeah. Anyways, I found the tour very interesting. I highly recommend going on a tour of the revolutions at the Musée Carnavalet. But yeah, I think that's actually it for all the topics that I wrote down. Honestly, it's really just been like what I was talking about at the start of this video, this new season of everything changing. And so yeah, it's less specific topics, but more just life changes. Another thing I did want to mention though is on my last video I posted on Saturday, my video on the guide to the 5th arrondissement, I saw a comment where someone said, I hope you're not, because in those guided tours, like I give obviously an overview of what's in the arrondissement, but then I also stay at a hotel with Jean and we do sort of like a night vlog, or showing you what it would actually be like to stay in the arrondissement and what you can do and stuff. And obviously part of the cost of making those videos is staying in a hotel. And I saw a comment of a woman who was like, wow, this is so well done, but that's like such a pricey hotel. I hope you didn't pay for that. Like, I hope you got to do this for free. And I was like, oh my gosh, I wish. Well, actually, no, I don't wish. The reason why I don't, like everything on my channel, everything I do, I pay for myself. That's why when I talk about the itineraries that I'm making can't be free, it's because it's very costly to visit everything, to make these videos. Like, the production costs a lot of money. And at the same time, in a lot of cases, like hotels specifically, I don't want to reach out to a hotel and ask them for a collaboration, ask them to let me stay for free, because I don't want to have a biased experience. Like, I want to go as a guest would and be able to actually evaluate this hotel, actually evaluate my experience. And I don't like to draw attention to the fact that I post review content and general content about Paris. I think as well, I just also don't want to have a headache of talking to people, because there are people who do value content creators or like influencers and understand the need to you know, provide a free stay for someone to review a hotel, because it's valuable to their hotel to have someone review the hotel. But there's a lot of people who don't understand, especially in France and in Paris, who don't understand or maybe don't see the value of having a content creator come in and review the hotel and show and stuff. So anyways, I thought it was funny. But yeah, literally everything I do on my channel, I pay for out of pocket, because I want to give you guys, I want to show you what the real experience is. I want to show you truly and authentically what it is, what it's like to live in Paris, be in Paris, stay in hotels and all that kind of stuff. And that's why as well, on that video specifically on the 5th, I was able to sort of justify the cost of the hotel, because I also had a sponsor for that video, and I was like so grateful to have that sponsor. But yeah, I thought I would just clarify that. And another thing as well, I'll stop talking about these itineraries, but I do just want to mention it because I want to get your opinion, is that as I'm doing all of these museums and all of these random things in Paris, I come across specific events or things that reoccur weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, and so they're not necessarily items that I would put in an itinerary, because they're not accessible to someone who's here for only like a week or 2 weeks. If it's something that occurs every month, you're not going to be able to take advantage of that activity, and it's kind of like a useless itinerary for you. So I was actually thinking of creating another set of guides where I list out all of these more secret, maybe exclusive and hidden events and activities that you can do in Paris. Like, some of them aren't advertised online, they're not advertised anywhere. I literally just found out about them because I went to the museum, because I went on a guided tour and the guide mentioned them. So I was thinking of also having a little sheet that people who have been to Paris 100 times, or people who live in Paris, study in Paris, and maybe are looking for new, unique things to try, could benefit from that, as opposed to giving like a 24-hour itinerary. That's like a specific set of things that are more known. I don't know, word salad here, but let me know what you guys think of that idea, if that would be something that would interest you to see. But yeah, okay, all right, moving on to the questions. Okay, the first question is from Robin, who says, what's your star sign? Do you watch the Chateau Diaries? And are there any boat tours of Paris? My star sign is Gemini. And, you know, at the start of my life, no, earlier on, I never really thought much of star signs. Like, I don't know, it never really crossed my mind too much. It's just, I'm a Gemini, you know? But over time, as I've met people, made friends, found a partner, you know, as I've gone through trial and error of finding friendships and relationships, it is so clear to me that I match better with certain star signs than others. And for example, other Geminis, like my greatest friendships have been with Geminis, like standout connections to me. People that you just immediately feel a connection with and that you have long-term friendships with are all Geminis for me. My best friend, for example, is a Gemini. She's born like 5 days before me, and just other really good friends as well, all Geminis. And even I did couch surfing once when I was in Ireland. The first time I ever did it, I was like kind of nervous, and the guy whose house I was staying at was also a Gemini, and we just clicked like this immediately. It was so fun. We just like spent the whole night, you know, getting around, doing shenanigans, going from bars to bar and like all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so I am a Gemini. Love other Geminis. And Jean is, I think he's a Sagittarius. Hold on, let me just quickly Google that. Because there's 2 star signs that start with S. And there's one I match with and one I, like romantically, I match with and one I don't match with romantically. Yes, he's a Sagittarius. What's the other one I don't match with? Scorpio, the one before Sagittarius. So Scorpio I don't match with romantically, but Sagittarius I also really match with both romantically and friendship-wise. And I was talking to my best friend about this because like her as well, she finds that she has good connections with people who are Geminis and Sagittarius. And she was talking also about Capricorns and how it was a little bit harder for her because Capricorns are more rigid and Sagittarius and Geminis are both very like flexible, kind of go with the flow signs. And so that's why they mix well. But yeah, that was a lot of information for you, but I am a Gemini. The other question was, do you watch the Chateau Diaries? I do not watch the Chateau Diaries. I think I've talked a little bit about it, but it's tough for me because I feel a little bit bad sometimes when I watch other creators just because I'm like, oh, they do this so well and I wish I could do that. And I just feel a little bit self-conscious about my own work when I watch other more successful creators. But at the same time, it is so helpful for me to like see other editing styles and see what other creators are up to. So Chateau Diaries, I think I've heard a little bit about them. I'm pretty sure it's a couple who's renovating a chateau, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't watch that for now, but I definitely will watch it in the future because that is something that Jean and I want to do. We are such a great team and we're like, why don't we, you know, showcase our teamwork in building something, renovating something. That's definitely like in a future project. But no, for now I don't watch the Chateau Diaries. And are there any boat tours of Paris? There are so many boat tours of Paris. Probably the most accessible one is the Bateau Mouche. It's the least expensive and the most flexible. You literally just buy a ticket online and you can go at any point. They have boats that like run every 30 minutes. So it's, yeah, that's probably the most accessible, least expensive, easiest to book. So Bateau Mouche. Kareem says, could you make activity recommendations for a London UK trip into history and politics? Oh my gosh, Kareem, I'm sorry, I probably could not do that. You'll see from my vlog that I posted, I really tried to hit the things that were most interesting to me. I didn't really get all of them. I really want to do a tour of the Westminster Abbey, but you can only do that in the morning, and I obviously arrived a little bit later in the afternoon or later in the day. But what I did feel when I was visiting London is that their history is so rich that I think I will do a couple of videos exploring London and the UK and a little bit of history there. I don't live there and I'm not English, but it just truly is so incredibly rich. Like it reminds me of Paris in how diverse and interesting and expansive the history of all that is. And it's also really interesting to hear about the early years of construction because, for example, I went to Tower Bridge and Tower Bridge today is a place for tourists to visit, and it's lost its original purpose, which was one, to allow people on the other side of London to cross over without waiting 3 hours by crossing over the London Bridge, but two, to let the boats pass through. And so neither one of those are issues or like problems that need a solution in today's world. So it's really just like a place for tourists to visit. So it is interesting to be able to look back on all of these monuments and see why they were built, how they were built, and how people used them like 200-300 years ago. So no, I cannot do that for now, but perhaps in the future I will have more videos on London. Kareem also asks, how did you come up with the name for your YouTube channel? And Nonstop Paris also asked the same question. So it's so funny. I feel like I tell this story way too much. I have a video on it. I definitely mentioned it 2 or 3 times. So I'm like, I don't want to bore people with this story. But essentially, when I first started my YouTube channel, I didn't want people to know that it was me. I didn't tell my friends. I didn't tell my family. Like I said this before, it really just started out as a creative project. And when you post yourself online, like you don't want people to judge you. And the easiest way to post online or to start posting online is to do so anonymously. Anonymously in the sense like people you know don't know you're doing this. And so I definitely didn't want to make it my name. And so I had to think of like another creative name. And it kind of clicked for me because I was thinking about a trip that I had taken with my grandma. And it wasn't just my grandma, so we went with our family, but I stayed in the same hotel room as my grandma. And my grandma is like an early bird. You know, she is up at 6, 7 a.m. and she's like, let's go, let's seize the day. And so I really liked that notion of like, let's seize the day. And one thing she said to me was the early bird gets the margarita. And because the reason she said that is because we were staying at, I think it was like an all-inclusive hotel. And so they had an all-inclusive bar and stuff. So the early bird is the first to the bar, the first to get the margarita. And not that we were drinking at 6 in the morning, but it was just a cute little thing that she said. And I liked the idea of it so much that I decided to name my YouTube channel Get the Margarita, because the early bird gets the margarita. The early bird seizes the day, you know? So that's where the name comes from. Nonstop Paris also asks if I have any tips for visiting Quebec. Oh my gosh, don't kill me, you guys. A lot of these I can't even answer. I unfortunately don't have tips for visiting Quebec. I lived in Ottawa, like I lived there for 5 years when I was doing my studies. And Ottawa is, at least where I was in Ottawa, is a 15-minute bus ride into Gatineau, Quebec. And so as a student, I would go there to go to the clubs, to go to the bars, because the drinking age is lower than the drinking age in Quebec is lower than the drinking age in Ontario. So I definitely went there as a student, but it was more of a nightlife, not too far because I didn't have a car kind of thing. I will say one thing that I really did thoroughly enjoy when I visited Quebec in the daytime was the Parc Gatineau and the spa, or it's called the Nordique Spa. Nordique Spa is by far the best spa I've ever been to. It's a bunch of outdoor pools, and I went in the winter too, so it was just beautiful with the snow and everything, and you just run from pool to pool because they're hot pools when it's cold outdoors. But yeah, I absolutely adored the Nordique Spa and the Gatineau Park, and one thing that I really enjoyed that I did is I booked a tour through the spa, and it was a 2-hour snowshoe hike in the evening, like a nature hike in the Parc Gatineau, and then you went over to the spa and enjoyed a couple hours at the spa. So that's probably the only recommendation I have for you. I'm sorry, I haven't spent a lot of time in Quebec. Like a lot of people think that because I do speak French, not necessarily for my YouTube channel, but just in life, in general life in Paris, people ask where I'm from and they just immediately assume I'm from the Francophone part of Canada because I speak French. But I'm absolutely from the Anglophone side. I grew up in Toronto, spent most of my life in Toronto, not a lot of time spent in Quebec. And Nonstop Paris also asks, which parts of France have you traveled to? Which would you like to see in the future? I love this question. So the first time I came to France, I lived in Lille. I did 3 Erasmus. And Erasmus is university exchanges. So the first one I did was in Lille, and that's in the north of France, and I adored it. It rained, and it was definitely a lot colder than I thought. I went in the summer. I had all these cute little skirts and dresses packed, and I had to buy a coat and pants and everything because it was just a lot colder and rainier than I thought it would be in the middle of the summer, like July, August. So I loved Lille. It's very beautiful. The architecture is beautiful. It's a lot smaller than Paris. It's less busy than Paris. So definitely recommend that. After Lille, then I went to Grenoble. That's where I did my second Erasmus. And Grenoble is a mountain city. It's right beside the French Alps. And Grenoble changed my life. People laugh at me when I say Grenoble is my favorite city in France because it's just not the prettiest, safest, or cleanest, but it's such a chill city, and the backdrop of the city is stunning. I just remember bike riding to school and the Alps in the background. It was breathtaking. I just couldn't help but thinking, how is this my life? How am I going to school right now and I'm face to face with these beautiful Alps and the sunrise and the sunset? amazing. I also really love that because Grenoble is beside the mountains, you have insanely easy access, affordable and easy access to hikes in the mountains, to camping in the mountains, and of course to skiing in the winter. So I loved Grenoble. I definitely recommend you visit it if you're spending more time in France. After Grenoble, I moved to Aix-en-Provence, and that's where I did my master's. So Aix is a city in the south. It's right beside Marseille. Easy access. There's a bus that's like a 30-minute bus ride from Aix to Marseille. And again, I adored Aix. It was a very charming, small, student-centric city, you could say. It had a lot more going on for it than Paris, and that's ultimately why I chose to leave, is that it was great to stay for a couple years, but it wasn't as culturally diverse as a place like Paris. So I definitely enjoy that aspect of Paris by comparison. But the weather, perfect, immaculate. I can't even remember a day when it rained, okay? And I remember I was FaceTiming my mom one day in late November, and I was on my way to basketball practice, and I'm just FaceTiming her in shorts and a t-shirt, and she's like in Canada freezing in snow. So if you like the sun, if you like a beautiful picturesque city, Aix-en-Provence, Marseille also is really nice, but I do find Marseille a little bit more chaotic, and personally I felt more unsafe in Marseille than any other city. After Aix, I moved to Toulouse. I worked there for a summer as a bartender, and Toulouse is more southwest, I believe. Yeah, it's closer to Spain and the Pyrenees, the mountains. Toulouse, amazing. Again, you have to visit Toulouse if you come to France. The weather is perfect. The city is gorgeous. The people are nice. It's a big biking city. I got around the whole summer on my bike. People are just generally more chill and more nice than in Paris. And yeah, the weather was perfect. From Toulouse, I also visited Montpellier. I feel like it's a known city, but I don't know. You guys let me know. Montpellier, I loved it because you have easy access on the tram, okay? Like not subway, but public transportation to the beach, the restaurants, especially the fish and the seafood, delicious. The people, friendly. The weather, amazing. You could tell I love the South. And then during confinement for like 2 years, I also lived near Angers and Saumur, which is the Pays de la Loire. I want to say northwest in France, and that's very much wine country. And it was less warm. It rained a little bit more, and it was definitely a little bit more cold than obviously the south, but it was beautiful, very green, very natural, and of course, who doesn't love wine country, visiting all the chateaus. And I found the restaurants, the food, and the people great. And you also have the Loire River, I want to say, that flows through this area, which is also very beautiful. Another place that I'd never lived but have visited and loved is Bretagne. I can't remember the name of the city I went to, but Bretagne is, again, more north, I want to say, northwest. It's like a little bit more west, I feel. And the beaches there are amazing. And not just that, but the flowers. The flowers and the green spaces were breathtaking. They have lots of apple cider farms and not factories, but you can do guided tours of places where they produce apple cider. The crepes are amazing. It's also very affordable. It was so funny because a couple friends that I have in Bretagne, we stayed at their apartment, and they had this huge apartment, like a 2-bedroom, I don't know how many square meters, and their rent was something like 500 euros. And in Paris, for literally 1/4 of the size, you're paying 4 times the price. So it was definitely a lot more affordable. When I went there, I just fell so in love with the place. I was like, I would love to have an Airbnb in Bretagne and have people come and stay and, you know, give people easy access to the beaches and the green spaces. So Bretagne was amazing. What else? I don't know. There's so many other places I've been to in France, but those are the ones that stick out the most, I would say. But yeah, I love France. I think it's funny because when you come to a place, like when you come and you live in Europe, I remember my first semester when I was in Grenoble, as a North American, you come to France and you have such easy access to affordable flights and buses and trains to take you anywhere in Europe. And so for the first 4 months, I just spent all of this time traveling outside of France. And then as the years went on, I traveled a lot more within France. And France is really special as a country because you have so many different climates and landscapes in one country. It's really crazy to me that you have the snowy Alps in Grenoble, and a train ride away, you have the beaches of Nice and Aix-en-Provence, not Aix, but Nice and Marseille, and the beautiful weather of Toulouse and Aix. It's so different. Than you go to the north, and it's France is just such a diverse, beautiful country. I really recommend that you don't just focus on Paris and that you explore the other cultures and cities as well. Oh, that was such a long-winded answer. I'm so sorry. Okay, next question is from Brianna. She says, how are you? Anything you're looking forward to next month? Oh my gosh, girl. Like I said, maybe you guys can tell, but I really feel like I've entered a moment in my life where I feel so good, so fulfilled, so happy. I'm doing great. I think it's obviously in relation to the season change and the sun and the warmth and the beauty of the city of Paris, really. If you watch my video of the 5th arrondissement, you'll see like things are in bloom, there's flowers, there's green. It's just, that obviously is helping my mood. But I also feel with my itineraries, with my website and all of that, I feel like I have a new purpose, and it's really rewarding. It's very exciting. I love what I'm doing. So I think this is probably the first time in a while that I felt also professionally very rewarded. And at the start, for maybe for a good 3-4 months prior to March, I was working 7 days a week, and it was not just like hard on me mentally and emotionally and even physically to work that much, but it was also really hard on Jean as well, because our relationship definitely took a hit. I was not accessible to my partner. We weren't really spending as much quality time as we would both like to together. And now that I have really refocused what I'm doing, I have much more of a clear idea, and I feel like I have more purpose, then I'm able to take breaks and stuff. So generally I am feeling great. What am I looking forward to next month? You guys, I know you're probably so sick of it, but I'm so excited for my website to launch. I'm so excited to see like the fruits of labor come to fruition. Does that make sense? I'm excited to see all of the work I'm putting in now result in a final product that I'm excited about and excited to share. I also have a Bonjour Paris webinar in April. It's not yet, it's in a couple weeks, but I'm very excited for that as well. And yeah, I think if I had to pick the number one thing I'm most excited for, it's definitely the weather. The spring and summer in Paris is so fun, so beautiful. Gosh, I don't know. It's a really good time for me right now, for sure. Last question is from Fatima, and she says, how do you feel safe traveling as a female to different places? You know what's crazy is I traveled a lot when I was younger. I want to say from 18 to 24, I was a travel bug. I was traveling everywhere solo and just doing kind of ridiculous things. And I think it's not until you get older and that you've experienced more life, you've seen more in the news, you see what other people are going through, that you think more about your safety and health. When I was young, I would do crazy things like couch surfing, you know what I mean? That's something today where I'd be like, that's a little bit unsafe. I don't know if I'm gonna do that. But I didn't even think twice about it when I was 20. So I think there is an age factor that when you're young, you're definitely more naive and you don't think as much about safety. And I'm lucky, like nothing ever happened to me. But I think that does play a factor. Now that I'm older and I do think a lot more about safety, probably to an unnecessary level, I do things a little bit differently. So for example, I have a door jammer and a little door alarm. So if I'm staying somewhere new or that I'm not familiar with, then that gives me ease when I'm sleeping, that if someone tries to break in, I'll know. Again, I do these precaution things, but has anyone ever broken into my room? No. So you have to wonder if I'm just over preparing, overcompensating. I also now plan my trips really thoroughly. So I avoid places where I think I might feel unsafe, especially as a woman, because like I said, there are cities where I've been to where I've seen how women are treated. I've seen how men behave towards women, and it's scary to think about what would happen if you're by yourself in one of those places at night. What could happen? So if I am going somewhere alone at night that I don't feel safe, I obviously don't go alone. I will either be with Jean or a friend. But I do think now another part of my travel includes really planning from A to Z, breakfast to evening activity, what I'm doing, and making sure I feel safe in what I'm doing. Like I said, when I was younger, I would not plan. I would show up and go with the flow, go with the people, and it's not really like that for me anymore. I think as well, and sort of the last topic on safety is not necessarily personal safety, but the safety of my belongings, especially now that I have more expensive equipment, you could say, cameras, tripods, laptops, hard drives. I carry that with me when I'm filming things, and I don't want to lose that. So I've invested in a backpack, for example, that is very safe, that you can't easily access from the outside, air tags to track my belongings. I'm overly safe with myself and my belongings now, to the point where George in Greece was like, girl, you need to relax. Nothing is gonna happen. You're gonna be fine. So it definitely shows that I'm overly considerate of my safety. But I think as well, when you live in a place like Paris, I've already talked about this, but it's such a stressful place in terms of people and dangers, that over time you do just develop these habits of being overprotective of yourself and your things. And I'm talking pickpockets, I'm talking incidents. It's just, when you live in a big city, a big and busy city like Paris, you become fearful of the world, I think. I know that wasn't the question, but I hope that answers it in some way. I do think as well, I will say this in conclusion, is that I am online a lot. It's my job. I'm like chronically online. And you see so much that you become fearful. You see these stories that go viral of things that people have experienced, or illnesses, or things that are just happening around the world that scare you, that shock you, that make you fearful for your own life. And I think in a way it's tough, because it's great to be informed about what's going on. It's great to learn from other people's experiences. But at the same time, when you're consuming so much of that, you become so hesitant and fearful that it could happen to you. And that's kind of where I'm at. I think it's important to find a balance between being cautious but also being carefree. It's nice to find that middle ground, being safe but still enjoying life, if that makes sense. So yeah, okay, that's it. That was the last question. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope where you are, it is as sunny and beautiful as it is in Paris today. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you guys on Saturday.